Are we ready? Well, good evening, and I know that it's late and everyone is tired, particularly my friend Mona, who's been watching all night, and I talked to earlier. Over the past 2 days, you've heard me repeatedly tell New Yorkers in low-lying areas to evacuate their homes in advance of Hurricane Irene. And now the edge of the hurricane is finally got upon us, and conditions are expected to deteriorate rapidly. According to the National Weather Service, tropical winds can be expected from this point forward. A tornado watch, just to make life more complex, is also in effect until 5 a.m. in the 5 boroughs and in Nassau, Suffolk, Westchester, and Rockland counties. Hopefully that won't happen, but there is the potential. Combined, I think it's fair to say these conditions make it unsafe to stay outside. Let me just repeat that. The time for evacuation is over. Everyone should now go inside and be prepared to stay inside until weather conditions improve, which won't likely be until Sunday afternoon. But we will get through this next 24 hours, I assure you. The city has taken exhaustive steps to prepare for whatever comes our way, and the very best first responders are going to work nonstop through the night to make sure that we get through this night as safely as possible. I'm joined by our fire commissioner, Sal Casano, Police Commissioner Ray Kelly, and our Office of Emergency Management Commissioner Joe Bruno. We have prepared for this. We've worked very hard. We've warned the public, and now we have to deal with what comes from Mother Nature. Your safety, your own safety, is dependent on what you do. New Yorkers should now remain indoors and take the following steps. First, move away as far as possible from glass windows. There's a risk that flying debris could break and shatter windows in your home. The risk increases if you live in a high-rise, particularly on the 10th floor or higher. Don't stay on the first floor of your building lobby and stand in a congregated area in a glass-enclosed lobby. Make sure windows and doors leading to the outside are closed. If you have a fireplace in your home, please close the damper, turn off any propane tanks, and move to a room with as few windows as possible and ride out the storm there. Let me summarize very briefly in Spanish. Por favor, ya no salga a las calles, quedanse a sus casas o en los refugios. There's a good example of why we need to heed all your instructions that I want to give you. At about 7 p.m. this evening, the NYPD received a 911 call reporting that 2 kayakers who had entered the surf off of Staten Island had capsized and were floundering in high seas. Why they were out there, in spite of all the warnings, I don't know, but the fact of the matter is they were there, and the NYPD harbor officers had to put their lives on the line to save these people. They responded and searched the waters and miraculously spotted the two who had been kept afloat for more than half an hour by their life jackets. They were rescued, and I'm happy to say they are okay. When they were brought ashore, the 2 were given summonses. This was clearly one of those reckless acts that have that also diverted badly needed NYPD resources. So please exercise good judgment if you're going ahead here. This really is, you're putting your own lives in danger. You're also putting lives in danger of the first responders. And I think this shows just how seriously this storm is, and at this point, people need to stay inside. This is a different message than we tried to give before. The message before was, please leave those dangerous areas. Come to the shelters or go to visit family and friends. The time for that, I think, has passed. Now the time is to focus on what to do where you are, given the weather that is with us today. Now, there's a chance that Con Ed will be forced to shut down parts of the grid if the flooding is severe. I think everyone should be prepared for that possibility when they wake up in the morning. To prepare for that, particularly if you live in high-rises where the water is pumped up by pumps that depend upon electricity, it means filling your bathtubs and sinks with water, which you can later use for washing or for flushing toilets. Put together supplies you will need if the power goes out, such as food, drinking water, medicine, and flashlights. If you don't have a flashlight and decide to use candles, please exercise the utmost caution. Candles are a fire hazard and can be knocked over easily. Keep an eye on them and don't leave them unattended. And remember to charge your phones and any other mobile devices that you may need. If the power goes out, call 311 or text 311 at 311-692, which is, incidentally, NYC, 311 NYC. And that will help us identify the areas that are without power. 311 is where you should go. 911 should be used only for emergencies. If it's not an emergency, please do not tie up the 911 services. The 911 services are for the most important life-threatening emergencies. And once again, for updates throughout the storm, you can visit nyc.gov or follow at NYC Mayor's Office or NYC or at Notify NYC on Twitter. Now, New York is the greatest city in the world, and we will weather the storm. I don't think it matters if you're in a shelter tonight or in your home or staying with friends or family. We are all together in this. And I did want to thank all of the volunteers who came out tonight to help their fellow New Yorkers, particularly the volunteers who are staffing the evacuation centers. And I'm especially grateful to our fire, police, first responders, and other city employees who have given their all. And a big thanks to the taxi drivers, livery drivers, bus companies, and others who answered our call and helped transport some of our most vulnerable neighbors to safety. As we've seen so many times before, this emergency is really bringing out the best in New Yorkers. So have a safe night. Look out for one another, and we will update you again tomorrow morning. The bottom line is the storm is now finally hitting New York City. The winds will increase, the rain will increase, and the tidal surge will increase, particularly in the morning. Tomorrow morning, when you wake up, whatever the conditions are, please stay inside. Too many things blow around, whether it's tree limbs coming down or porch furniture being blown away. It's just not safe to be outside. It's cute to say I was outside during the storm, but you're much better off staying inside and looking out. We will talk to you again tomorrow morning. We'll update you at that point in time. But I think what's really important here is that we understand nature is a lot stronger than the rest of us. We'll be happy to take a question or two. Yes, sir.
Mr. Mayor, why wasn't Rikers Island evacuated?
There's no reason to evacuate Rikers Island. It is higher than the Zone A areas, and it's perfectly safe. Yes?
Specific fire dangers, concerns?
Well, candles, for example, present a great danger. People like candles. The windows are open, the wind blows the curtain catches on fire. That's what we worry about more than anything. That and the fact that in certain areas we're not sure if there's enough tidal surge and the bridges are closed that we can get fire equipment to you. That's one of the reasons to evacuate all of the Rockaways. Yes, sir.
I was wondering if the city is sure that everyone has been evacuated from the subway and there aren't any...
We're not 100% sure. We've done the best job we can. Keep in mind, it's the MTA that does all that along with the NYPD. They've done everything they possibly can. Can I promise you there isn't somebody hiding someplace in there? No, but the bottom line is you shouldn't be living in the subways. We do everything we can to find those people and give them the kind of support services that they deserve. But we don't think there's anybody in there. Yes, miss.
Have you guys heard any reports of either cab drivers or store owners that have, high-demand merchandise like bread right now, gouging people's prices?
I'm sure there's one or two people, but basically New Yorkers don't do that kind of thing. And I can't guarantee you that everybody doesn't, but that's not the New York way, and that's not what I'd expect to find if I went out there. Yes?
The kayakers, did the harbor officers have to actually go into the water to rescue them?
No, they pulled them onto the boat.
Thank you very much. I'm sorry, and I'm sorry if someone asked about this. Is there any call for hotels not to have their air conditioning on and not use their elevators? There was some report about that some hotels
there are hotels, there are reports about everything. There's no reason why hotels shouldn't keep their air conditioning going and their elevators running. The problem with elevators is we're worried that if the power goes out, people will find themselves stuck in an elevator. The fire department has to respond. They go from floor to floor, opening each door till they find where they are and get them out. During that time, they're not available for more important things, life-threatening things. So what we're trying to do is to get NYCHA and other places to where there is a chance of flooding stopping the functioning of the elevators, to close down their elevators. I know it's inconvenient. People have to take the stairs. Some people can't, and they'll just have to stay where they are. But the alternative is worse. Anything else?
Satisfied with the number of people who have evacuated? Do you think the city could have done more?
You know, I don't know. You can always do more. But we certainly tried as much as we can to get out the message. We've had organizations like Con Ed who have offered their phone banks, their automated calls, to call people and say, please evacuate. The law requires you to do so. We've had as much press as we could possibly get to inform people. We've used the staffs of a variety of agencies to call people to do that. And, I think most people have heard about it. Whether they've chosen to do so, I don't know. The only place we really have good data is NYCHA Housing, and in some of the cases we found 80% of the people have left, and in a few other places 50% of the people. But there's a lot of evidence that many people have taken this very seriously, and they should. Yes, sir. Last question.
I understand that you're saying that people, even if they're living in the low-lying areas at this point, should stay in that area?
I think at this point, given the fact that the rains and the winds are virtually upon us, they will be very heavy. At this point, if you haven't evacuated, our suggestion would be that you stay where you are, but it's up to you. But keep in mind, there's no mass transit. When the rains are very heavy and it's dark outside, it's hard to get around, and the elevators are being shut down. At this point in time, you should have left earlier, but if you didn't, our advice would be, and you do it at your own risk, would be to stay where you are.
Just a quick follow. You mentioned the NYCHA stats. Somebody told us that about the Gowanus houses, that nobody told them there that they were in an area.
I'm not familiar with whether it's hard to believe there was a place that we didn't tell everybody. We've took great pains to tell everybody. There's always somebody that doesn't listen and said, oh, they never told me, but that's not fair. We'll see you in the morning. Hopefully we'll get through this. It would be great if the storm isn't anywhere near as severe as what is forecast, but there certainly will be a tidal surge, and that's probably around 8 in the morning at high tide. That's one of the times that we're really worried about. So get a good night's sleep. Please, tomorrow morning, no matter how tempting it is to say I was walking around during the storm, stay inside. That's the safest thing. There's just too many things blowing around, and that's really what we're worried about. People going into parks where branches come down, people walking the streets where there's a basket or something that gets blown away, people standing by a window that gets blown out. We just don't need that kind of stuff. We'd like to get through this with as minimal damage to human beings as possible, and after that to property. But it's people's lives that we're really worried about. Thank you.